suppose, well, excuse me. This one right here. Well, first I want to say that it's good to be back in Texas, and I think all of you know why we are here. Mainly is to encourage people to attend the precinct conventions on May the 6th, because you have a convention state, and to acquire any delegates in the convention state, those who support you must attend the conventions. I like the primary system better, where people can participate themselves and vote either for the delegates who are pledged to you, or also vote for the candidate himself. So I hope all of those who support us in Texas will find time to attend the precinct conventions on May 6th, after you have voted, of course, in the Democratic primary on that date. Now, how do you do? This is the first time I've been to the Dallas Press Club. You just open it up for questioning. Is that it?
I have a question, Governor.
Governor Wallace,
Well,
you've had a lot to say about tax reform, a lot to say about the average American being oppressed with taxes while a number of millionaires get off scot-free. And of course, as you know, there's a tax reform bill pending in the Senate now, proposed by 12 Democratic senators. My question is this: do you think the current efforts on behalf of Mr. Johnny Walters of the Internal Revenue Service to curb fraud among average Americans and tax preparers is actually a move to perhaps head off the tax reform bill in the Senate, perhaps promote a complete rewriting of the tax laws, as some say the President's advisors would like to do?
I think I got all of your question. I'm not sure what... Anyway, I didn't mean it that way. I don't hear the best in the world, but anyway, it was a good question. I'm not sure what the motive of anyone in looking into tax returns, as you say. I will say that the number of people who are paying taxes, who do not pay taxes, something should have been handled a long time ago, especially by some of those who are now running in the preferential primaries who are talking about it. They've been in the Senate a long time. In fact, the 6 senators who are running have been involved 109 years in the House and in the Senate and as the Vice President. I think they should have corrected this problem and evil a long time ago. But of course, when they say, the question is about the checking and investigating the average citizen's tax return, that some of them are fraudulent. Well, I don't know. That's some charge to make, that some of their tax returns are fraudulent. It's hard to know how to make out a tax return. It's so complicated and so much red tape that the average citizen has to hire someone, a Philadelphia lawyer, to make out almost a simple tax form. I think there ought to be some system to make it more simple for the average taxpayer. But I think if the IRS spent most of their time on pointing out to the Congress how they ought to plug the loopholes in the tax structure, it would serve the American people a lot better. I think that the average citizen in the country pays his taxes. In fact, he pays more than he ought to pay. But as to what motive they have in checking on all of the returns, of course, I cannot say.
Do you favor starting from scratch and writing new income tax laws?
Do I favor what?
Starting from scratch and simply building a new body of income tax law?
I don't know whether I favor starting from scratch, but I do favor many reforms, and I do favor reforms that would tax the $200 billion of wealth and income estimated to be without taxation. And I think if you do that, you're going to able to give the average taxpayer enough tax relief that it will not only help his morale, the working man, the businessman, and the farmer in our country, that production would increase, in my judgment, and consumer spending would be increased, which would, in my judgment, bring about more employment. I think it would cut down on unemployment in the country.
Governor Wallace, despite all of your rhetoric on such things as tax reform and so forth, a lot of people here in Texas feel that you're first and foremost a racist. How do you answer these people?
That I am a what?
A racist, first, foremost, and always.
Well, I think that I probably represent the viewpoint of more Texans than does any other national candidate who is involved in the preferential primaries, and that's simply not true. I don't think the people of Texas are like that. And I would say that in 1968, the fact that the other candidates themselves begin to say almost what I was saying that year indicates that that's not true, and I think that it ought to be put away for good because it's simply not the case. There are those who say that people who oppose busing are the same way, but I don't think you would call the majority of the citizenry in Dallas, Texas, has fallen into that category, because they certainly oppose this massive busing that they consider to be asinine and callous and not in the interest of anybody, regardless of their race or color. You know, in the last number of years, we have a number of people who have said that about me and about other people. You know, some of the limousine liberals, such as the Rockefellers and all of these foundations that always concocting schemes to spend the money of the middle class and low-income people in this country, really they concoct these schemes because they are tax exempt. And I think really one thing that they've tried to do in the last number of years is to keep people's minds off of the fact that I was talking about a basic issue in the matter of tax reform. So the way you try to cloud that issue of tax relief and tax reform is to call the man who advocates it something else and take people's mind off of it. I think the majority of black and white citizens both are beginning to realize that these limousine liberals, as some news media has termed them, are not interested really deep down in anyone who is in poor circumstance. I think that they're interested only in their prestigious careers and the vanity of their own theories. I would like to appeal for the support of people in this state of all races and colors, because I think that which I advocate, now being advocated by the other candidates, is in their interest.
Governor Wallace, similar to the same question, you received a large and cheering welcome at the Adolphus of Caucasian and Mexican American groups, but no blacks. Does this mean anything to you? And what percentage of the black vote do you think you'll receive?
I didn't hear your question. Well, I would like to. I don't know that I will get a large percentage of the black vote. I did get some in Florida, and I have some fine black citizens in that state that worked for me in the presidential campaign. I had some in the state of Wisconsin. I had some in 1968. I think if they truly knew my attitude toward their problems, that I would receive more votes. And I would like to receive more votes from the black community in this state and throughout the country. But as you say, I did not have many who attended last night, although there was some black people in attendance last night at the hotel where I spoke. I wish there had been more.
Governor, may I ask you two questions, if I may, sir? The first, I wish your lovely wife was here, because I would like to ask her this question. I understand that she has been an influence on you in getting you to kind of tone down the racial issues.
Well, my wife has influence over me, but I don't know how much political influence she has. Her uncle ran against me, you know, in 1970, and we were not married at that time. But she has influence on me, but I don't talk quite as loud as I used to talk, because it's like I said last night, when I plowed a mule back in Alabama as a young boy, sometimes he would balk, and you'd have to go in front of him and thump him good to make him pay attention. I just thumped him now. I didn't hit him. I don't want to get anybody who thinks I'm cruel to animals here today and get that started on me, you know. But once you got the mule's attention, he did a pretty good day's work. I think we've gotten the attention of the news media now, and they know that we are not what they said we were, that we're interested in philosophy, and I think that was borne out in the state of Wisconsin. I think it was borne out in the state of Florida, where I carried every county in the state, all 67 of them, and yet the people voted for equal opportunities for all children in that state. I don't think they would have voted for me if they thought I had been against that. So my wife has influence on me, and of course, and in many matters, and I appreciate the fact that you've indicated she does. I'll give her that message when I see her tonight.
Governor, may I ask the second question now? Every president has had his thing, whether it be tennis, sports cars, golf, playing the piano, or swimming rivers. What is your thing? What do you do when you relax?
Well, I fish some myself. I fish for votes, and I play dominoes, and I sit around the Confederate monument home.